Welcome everybody to the In the Paint Show, episode 188. I'm with my host Chelsea Hawkins, Ani Umana. We're back at it. We have had a little bit of breaks. We've been traveling, doing other things other than pod. So we, wanted to apologize to you guys. We may not be on every week, but we're going to be on as much as we can to talk about basketball and everything that comes with it at all three levels. Obviously, we talk a lot in the scope of grassroots ball and high school ball, and that's what we're in right now. I know, Chelsea, you got some events coming up. And Ani, you're going to be there too. So how are you guys doing?
I'm doing well, Ronnie. I missed you guys. It feels weird to not have a pod as frequently as we do, but I'm glad to be back, and I have a lot to talk about and a lot to say. So there's that. What about you, Ani?
Oh yeah, we back, man. I miss y'all. Let's get to it. I'm good. I just moved. I'm in my apartment. I ain't got no chairs right now because moving is late. So we here. My legs probably gonna fall asleep, and it's all good. We here.
Yeah, no doubt. Ani, you're doing a lot of. Obviously, a lot has happened since the last time we've been on. We wanted to a lot of irony, meaning like the Lakers and the Celtics have this rivalry to try to get the most championships. And as we shoot this pod, the Celtics won their 18th championship, 4-1 over the Dallas Mavericks. Jaylen Brown, the former Wheeler star who went to Cal, was named Finals MVP. Obviously, Jason Tatum was a high school star too, and kind of seemed like he got a big monkey off his back. What's your highlight on that, Ani? Like, a lot of people said those two stars really couldn't play together, win a championship together. That's obviously wasn't true. They just, they made it to the finals in 22, and then they got over the hump. So, what's your take there on that championship?
I mean, the best team won. I root for the Mavs, but they were a better team. Boston was. They can 5-out you, space the floor. They have the athleticism. They have multiple guys that can defend. I'm happy for Tatum to get over that hump. I think Jaylen Brown winning Finals MVP was absolutely appropriate because he was the best player in that series. And, now, like, the monkey's off their back. So I'll be interested to see, like, going forward, Boston, can they repeat? They got a team that can repeat and, make a run at multiple NBA championships as long as guys stay healthy. So happy for them. I'm a Mavs fan, but, look, I saw game one. Boston's better. So if we can get this to 6 games, I'll be happy. So, yeah, that's just what it is. How about you, Chelsea?
I totally agree. I think the best team won, obviously, from start to finish. And, there's a lot of talk and just about their path to the finals. And, nothing changed. They were the best team in the regular season. They were the best team leading all the way up to the championship, and they deserve it. I'm happy for Tatum, too. I think they overachieved so much early on in their career with just their deep playoff runs that people just kind of discredit and, try to say that we need to break them up and things like that. But they really trusted the process. They stayed together and it took them some time, but they got over the hump. And I'm like, Ani, I think they have a great chance to do it again. So we'll definitely see them back in the mix next season.
Yeah, definitely, Chelsea did. I think we all agree on that. One thing that made we talked about a lot in past pods and was that trade with, is that what's it going to do for Dame Lillard and Drew Holiday went to the Celtics and Dame Lillard went from Portland to Milwaukee. And it seemed like he was a great fit for them when they won their title. So like Drew Holiday is really turning into like a good career, like better than people might give him credit for. 100%. Like if you really start looking back at his career, he's done some really great things as a team guy. And he kind of was a great piece for them, similar to that Milwaukee team. And Milwaukee has to regroup. Again, Chelsea, even a little in high school, as you were part of that 08 group. Like, he was there, Gatorade National Player. He's kind of overshadowed by Brandon Jennings and maybe a few other guys. And it's like, but he's had a great career. It's long. He's been healthy. He's been a great just team player. So shout out to Drew Holiday. Pump and run and Campbell Hall High School in Southern California, and he's made a great career for himself. Ani, what do you think about like this young group? Tatum, and then you have maybe like the group of Zion Williams and that group of players in the late 2010s, and then they're kind of entering, the time where people are going to be like, okay, can these guys win a championship? I guess the last guy would be Anthony Edwards. And then and then the NIL kind of came into play. And like, so we're going to look at these young guys a little different. These guys are kind of like the last guys of that older era. Do you kind of see that when I'm saying like, these guys are going to be getting paid a lot of money now going forward. And by the time they get to the NBA, they're already going to have well-established careers more than like, okay, they're high school stars. I don't think we're going to look at these next groups as just high school stars.
Yeah. Man, them dudes going to be rich for real. Like a lot of them guys are going to be making hundreds of millions of dollars. Like contracts are going to be 200 million plus, you know what I'm saying? Especially I think the new TV deal comes on and stuff like that. I mean, guys are going to be rich, like rich. You know, it's kind of like if you look at like contracts like Michael Jordan had, you know, Scottie Pippen, and then you look at guys like, you know, 10 years after when he retired the second time, like those 08, 09, 010, like Chandler Parsons, you know, like guys that made huge contracts. I think we're just kind of seeing the same thing. We're seeing the era where guys like KD and all of them were making a certain amount of money. And now guys like Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, even Jaylen Brown's contract, like they're going to be making way more money than those guys. So I just think we're coming to a new era. We're just going to do phase. Like I said, Tatum, Edwards, Luka. I think Jokic will come in and get another big contract. Probably has another big 5-year contract coming up at some point that he'll get. That's just a new era, and they're just going to be making a lot more money. The NBA keeps raising up, keep growing popularity, and I mean, just when they retire, then guys are going to be making $300-400 million. You know, have $300-400 million contracts. It's just going to grow. It's going to grow. There's going to be more guys that have made billions of dollars. Like I look at it, if it keeps going for 50 years, you're going to see guys that be over $1 billion in their playing basketball career. Yeah, I think that's going to be more of a norm later down the line.
But to your point, Ani and Ronnie, I think too, like, I hope that some of these kids could just get the money and still keep working. Like, I really thought about Jaylen Brown. Like, he got that big contract, you know, $300 million, and he deserved it. He got better. Like, he played very well, and he was very deserving of the Finals MVP. And I think sometimes people get lost in the sauce, and like they're making these money, they're living this lifestyle, and they don't keep the main thing. So I really commend, you know, how Jaylen Brown was able to approach this season, and just kind of, you know, put a lot of it on his shoulders. And I know everybody wanted Tatum to kind of be the man, but Jaylen Brown was very much the man on that team, and they were a great duo. So I don't want to discredit Jason, but you know, Jason's about to get his payday coming up very soon. And you know, hopefully he's just as hungry for the second one as he was for this first one. But I really felt like I saw that desire in Jaylen Brown, and we saw it in his performance.
Yeah, I agree. It's very interesting. You know, like you said, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were great players. And they're kind of, you know, like I'm looking at some of these rankings. Check Diallo and Ben Simmons were definitely Ben was ranked ahead of Jaylen Brown. So, and same thing with Jason. I think he was a little bit overshadowed by that Lonzo Ball team and Lonzo Ball. You know, like he was right there. And then when he went to the draft, teams haven't had a chance to get him. Right. I think they look back and look at like Boston did a great job at getting him at where they got him. And like you said, you guys now they're in their 7th seasons or whatever. So they're not really young players no more, but they still they're in their prime basically. So like you said, they have a chance to repeat. We'll see what Denver does. You know, are they gonna losing Bruce Brown? Hey, maybe Denver wasn't as good as we thought. You know, that is every little piece matters. Like we said about Drew Holiday, Bruce Brown leaving. Teams' little moves make a big difference because, like we said, we kind of know who the 3 or 4 best teams are in the preseason, and in that how it went. So, shout out to that, guys. And we wanted to also mention, since the last one on the pod, a lot of things have happened. Like I mentioned, the irony at the top of the show, the Celtics were wearing a Bill Walton patch. Obviously, he passed away. Very, very ironically, like the day or a few hours after the Pac-12 network went off the air. You know, that's just kind of, he was like Mr. Pac-12, Mr. the Conference of Champions. He always loved to say that, you know, even in his goofy, his goofy style of everybody knows how quirky he was on air, but he was knowledgeable and he's credible. He's obviously a great player, but people are going to miss him. And I think just his kind of like the way he approached the game, it was like, he had this very naturalistic, hey, I'm just who I am. And if you guys like me, you like me. If I don't, I don't, you know, like you don't. So He was part of Boston's championship team in '86, and he led the Trail Blazers. And then it's ironic too, as the Celtics are winning, the guy who had the most agony from the Celtics, Jerry West, passed away. And it's just like, wow, that was just kind of like, he was an older gentleman and he was in his 80s, but you just didn't expect that. You didn't hear that he was sick or like, hey, just wake up one morning and Jerry West highlights are all over the place and he passed, and it's like, wow. And then these things always happen. People saying like threes. And I was either talking with Ani or we were at an event or we were online and I text you guys. I was like, guys, Drew Gordon just passed away. I'm like,
we were in. It was during Pangos, wasn't it?
Yeah, it might have been during Pangos or something. Guys, he passed away, and I'm getting somebody in the media hit up Calvin Andrews, who's his agent, and Calvin obviously a well-known agent, and he has Aaron Gordon as his client and Drew as well, and yeah, he was in Portland and he passed away. So he was a young man. He's part of that your group, Chelsea, in 08. So he's a young man. You know what I mean? Like, so I just wanted to mention those guys because they're either well known and Drew was obviously a player that I got to see a lot of, and he obviously Aaron Gordon, so people kind of know him by that. But he was a great player in his own right. And when Calvin Andrews kind of confirmed that and got all over the news, it was kind of sad, just as a young man. So just wanted to mention those guys a bit. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about Bill Walton or Jerry West or Drew, but I definitely wanted to, it's kind of an irony of which teams won and how that happened with the Celtics connection to Jerry West and Bill Walton.
For sure. No, Bill Walton was my favorite commentator.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, he was funny. Like,
didn't take himself so seriously.
Yeah, he was funny, so I enjoyed it. Sometimes I had to put him on mute, but
yeah, sure.
But he was good. He was fun. He was entertaining. I got to, obviously he played before my time, but I got to watch like old 70s Portland Trailblazer like games and stuff. He was really good. Like he was really, really good. Even UCLA, he was really, really good. And Boston playing that 6-man role and helping them win the title. He had a hell of a career, obviously a Hall of Famer. Jerry West, that's the logo. So, that's the only one that's ever won an NBA Finals MVP and, and lost the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What he's done as an executive, obviously, just for multiple teams and building franchises and stuff. It's interesting that the both of them passed, and Drew Gordon obviously he had he was been playing for a minute, and Aaron Gordon's brother, but Drew Gordon was a really good basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
Just hate to hear that someone that young just passing. Just interesting times. I told y'all before, I've had people in just the grassroots scene that passed away the past past couple of months. So people that are close to me. So. You just hate to see it, obviously, it's part of it, people live and people die, but you just cherish the time. I remember a couple of years ago just laughing at a Bill Walton, commentated game UCLA, and now he's gone. So I think just cherishing those moments, with people or just seeing those people and stuff like that, just really valuing those.
No doubt. I don't know, Chelsea, do you have any comments on them?
Well, the Drew situation is just super sad. I mean, he's around my age, to die tragically. That's the thing that just kind of sticks out to me the most. Anything could happen. You just got to love on the people around you. Right. And, I feel for Aaron Gordon. They get knocked out of the playoffs and, he's probably just getting ready to enjoy some family time in his summer. And then something like this happens to his brother. So, I just think of the more human element and just, how difficult it is to lose somebody like that. Obviously Jerry West and Bill Walton were older and they got, hopefully the most out of, their long lives. But Drew, he was my age. He's in his 30s. So definitely tragic.
Yeah. I just hope for Jerry West, really go look at some of his playoff stats and playoff records. They're pretty amazing, especially since his best asset is what was not available, which is a 3-point shot on some of those 2-point shots.
He had range. He
had super range, and the pull up is ridiculously good. And he's a much better athlete than people would think. Broad shoulders, 6'3", big hands. He was pretty good.
Bro, go
much
on
better than people think. The average
go
person.
on YouTube and watch full games of him and Will Chamberlain. Jerry West was a dude. Like I know people that puts a lot of people to sleep, but I enjoy watching.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Just 6'3", full sprint into the pull up. He's like nice elevation. Dude, he's a great player. There's no doubt. Like it just translates. If you know the game, it translates. So
For sure.
But I just hope people don't look at like that Lakers show and be like, oh, he was just a crazy ass executive and like couldn't handle it. He's throwing trophies and going crazy. That's not all he did. Like and again, go listen to our pod if you want some background on how his genius is, what he did with Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal and setting that up. We had a pod a few months ago with Gary Charles that talked about all that. So just go check that out. It's a really good, insightful piece about how they did that. So like you said, Ronnie, best executive ever, really. Like who knows who gets credit for knowing talent better than him? Probably nobody. You know what I mean? So let's move forward. Quick question. I wanted to get your guys. Let's do some predictions real quick. Will Boston repeat, you think? And who would be the NBA MVP next year? And who's going to be the rookie? They'll try to guess the rookie of the year. Probably impossible.
Really going there. Let's go. I don't think Boston repeats.
Okay.
I don't know if Chris Stapps will be able to be as healthy as long as he is. I think I think that would definitely Tillman, Horford, and Porzingis. I don't know if Chris Stapps can hold up as long as he did.
Sure.
And Horford's a year older. And
listen,
now that he has an NBA title, he ain't the same player. Like I saw that shit with Jason Kidd and Dirk Nowitzki in 2011 and JJ Barea. Man, them old cats, after they finally win the title, they not the same no more. They done did it. Like he done did it. So it'd be interesting. I don't think they will. I actually, depending on how Denver, if they add some depth, Dallas, obviously, I think they need to add more shooting. I go Denver. I go Dallas. Milwaukee, if they can finally get healthy and kind of figure it out. Like I think between them three, Boston, but I don't think Boston repeats. I think the East is going to be harder next year.
Okay, fair enough.
Next year, I don't think that path's going to be as easy going to the East.
Okay, I would have to agree that Boston probably won't repeat, but I don't say that because they're not good enough. I just say that it's just hard to repeat. Like. They're going to be in the mix. They're going to have a chance. Now, will they do it? Probably not, just because how difficult it is. Like I think it's just hard. So that's that. Rookie of the year. I didn't even get to that. It's
hard.
I'm just going to go with a player that I really like. Stephon Castle, UConn championship. Wow. I really think he has a pro style and pro ready game. I think if he gets in the right situation with the right team, he can be very effective. And I think he can have a good rookie year. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. I wouldn't bet any money on this prediction because it's really just like one of the worst draft classes ever. But I do think that maybe not ever, but I do think that there's some really good pieces in the draft. And I think what we always talk about, like, coming in and sticking and finding your niche, like it's hard to just be a guy in the NBA. So if you could just get on a roster and be impactful, then that's great. And, I don't really see any studs or any superstars, but I really like the way Stephon Castle plays. And I think in the right situation, he's going to be very formidable. And MVP, I don't want Joker to win it again. Okay. Yeah, listen, you guys stop my guy LeBron from continuing to win MVPs when he deserved it. So it's over. I want to see somebody new. Hopefully, Shea will be back in the mix. Luka probably in the mix. I think this kind of series exposed some stuff about Luka, although I'm still a big fan. But it wouldn't shock me if they did give it to somebody who already got it, but I would like to see somebody new. So I'm going to pick Shea.
Is Jason Tatum going to win an NBA MVP or Jaylen Brown, or they're just not?
Jason Tatum, like I told you guys several pods ago, is not going to be the MVP ever. Wow. Great player, and that's okay. He's an exceptional player. But I just don't see it. Like
Correct.
I don't see it. Like, I think you have to just be so dynamic and like do crazy numbers. And maybe that has to do with the team that he's on. The team is so balanced that maybe you don't get to do crazy numbers when you play for Boston. But if you don't do crazy numbers, you can't be MVP. So I just really can't see that happening.
I think rookie of the year, I think MVP is going to be Luka. I think Luka's right receiving stats are going to be ridiculous. I know defensively wasn't great. James Harden won MVP, and he was way worse than Luka on the defensive end.
Not way worse.
He was way
worse. 1A, 1B. They were the same.
Way
more bad.
Luka could when we talk about defense, Luka, I'm not even going to use his injury as an excuse because I ain't one of them cats, but we know the dude was taking shots just to play the game. But anyways, take that out the way. He's 6'8" with a big body. He at least can move and put his hands up and affect something. Harden is 6'4", 6'5". He wasn't affecting shit. Like Luka and Harden are not the same.
They're not the same type of player.
They're not the same type of defender. Luka actually is like a bigger body and can, when he wants to, impact some shots or play some defense. I don't think Harden could not do any defense. I think Luka wins MVP. I think it's going to be him or Shea. Because I think they're going to put the best stats and their teams are going to win the best games.
Teams are going to win a lot of
Rookie of the year, I'm going to go Donovan Clingan on the right situation.
Wow.
I go Donovan Clingan because I think he'll be able to be like near double-double type guys. Stephon Castle to me is going to be based on the jump shooting.
Yeah.
He'll be in the mix. And I think my third will be Dalton Connect. I think he'll be able to come in, plug and play right away and put up numbers. Alexander Sarr, I know – what's interesting about him is if the Hawks trade DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, that dude's going to have to put up some numbers. So
he's going to get a lot of playing time.
So for me, it's Clingan, Sarr, Castle, Connect.
Good.
Okay, there's some good guys. Appreciate you guys' input there. Speaking of UConn, it's Lakers don't have a coach. Chelsea Lakers don't have a coach. Danny Hurley, we've talked about that. I remember him coaching Tristan Thompson at St. Benedict's, Ani, and then they came to the Nike Extravaganza. That was in January, and he wasn't on the team. About a week later, he was at Finley, and I just remember everybody like, they kind of didn't get along, and Danny's a hard ass. And he is, he drove a hard bargain. He's a hard charging coach, and it worked. I mean, like we've talked about some of these NCAA coaches that were at prep schools, and look where Danny's at, 12 years later. He's turning down $70-80 million like when he was in high school then. You know what I mean? It's just, so things change. The same thing with Joe Mazzulla. I remember him playing at West Virginia, right? He had a good game against John Wall, I think people were mentioning. Like that was around the same time Danny was with St. Benedict's, so it's like, man, fortunes change quickly. That wasn't that long ago. It was quite a while, 12 years ago, but wasn't that long ago. So I'm not sure what the Lakers are trying to do. Chelsea, maybe you have some thoughts on what the I'm not sure what the Lakers are trying to do. We're talking about the media. We're going to get into the media here in a minute. So we're going to talk about the media. It's not the greatest time for the people in the media right now. So
rebuild.
I just think with the Lakers situation, like that's not a desirable job. Yeah. Like obviously the prestige of being the coach of the Lakers might be something, but the shit show that is the Lakers front office and everything that comes with it, it's like a circus. Yeah. If you don't do well, you're going to get fired. And, I love LeBron, but there's a lot that comes with being a coach for his team. And I just think in general, like it's not super desirable. And if I'm Danny Hurley, why am I going to leave a amazing position with the chance to repeat at UConn where I'm loved and respected? And even if I don't lose, they're not going to kick me to the curb just to go with the Lakers. Like, I just don't feel that that's a job that, it sounds good in theory more so than it is actually like having the job. So I think that's how a lot of people feel about it. And I really have no idea what management and front office is doing. Like it seems like, it's just a kind of poorly ran organization from just a standpoint of saying you want to win championships all the time. Like no consistency, nothing to really build on. Like having good players and old players at that is not really enough in this league anymore. The league has changed. So, hopefully they'll come to that realization and try to get somebody that could be in there and stay for and to try to build something. Look at the teams that were in the mix. Like, Minnesota, Denver, these coaches are building and they're with their players and creating something. What did the Lakers have? Everything is just kind of fly by night and let's see if we can grab a championship at the last second. But there's no foundation, so it's just gonna be hard.
Gotcha.
Listen,
I want to kind of get your hot take and put you on the hot seat a little bit.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Is the NBA, like you mentioned, John Lucas mentioned at the NBA Players Association camp, players are going to be making $100 million a year, $50 to $100 million a year soon. Some of those guys maybe that were in the camp, especially Baba and a couple of other, the other 227 Crosby. Like by the time they get to be 25 years old, the money's going to be huge.
Right.
So, like, the Lakers are a family-oriented business from Dr. Jerry Buss to the daughter. And even that was a little bit of a drama, taking over the team from her brothers. And maybe her brothers felt like they got kind of, wheedled out. Do you think the Lakers just eventually have to get with the times and be owned by a multi-billion-dollar corporation? Like, do you think that? Like, that's where the NBA's headed? Like, just or no, the Lakers are just the Lakers and Jeannie just got to get it right.
I heard the problem is Lakers got old money. I mean, more money than me, but what I mean by that is like the money that they're giving Hurley, they didn't have enough money to really put a really, really good staff around him.
Sure.
That makes sense. So I guess what I mean by like, I see old money in bad way, like they don't have
correct.
If they gave Hurley that much money, they weren't going around giving the staff that he needed the amount of money that was needed to get it done. You see what I'm saying? So I do agree. I think they need to get a multi-billion-dollar, whoever, a money person, whatever, to kind of help. If you give Hurley 80, then you're able to spend an extra whatever $1 million to put the staff around him that makes sense.
Yeah.
Chelsea made a point about the structure of the team, I mean, that is important. I've been saying it for a long time. You need to rebuild. I've been saying it like they need to rebuild. Trade LeBron, trade AD, go younger, figure this out, put more money into your scouting department and your development team and, get the right guys. This is this team can't win a championship. If you look at it, you can't win a championship. There's no way a 40-year-old LeBron can be your first or second best player on a championship team. That shit's not going to work. So I think you need a new ownership, and I think you need a new coach, and I think you need to rebuild. Because look at Boston. You go Tatum and Brown, right? You got Porzingis, but you still got Horford. You got Derek White. You got Drew Holiday. You got the Hausen that's making shots. I mean, they're deep. When you look at Dallas, they got two bigs that are big-time lob threats, right? You got Luka. You got Kyrie. You got Derrick Jones on the minimum that's getting stuff done. PJ Washington, like the depth. You see what I'm saying? Like, look at the Timberwolves. Look at the Nuggets. Look at all these really good teams. Then you look at the Lakers, and it's like you're not even constructed close to that. You know what I mean? So Lakers got to change. They got to rebuild. They got to get new ownership, and with new ownership comes more money, and they got more money to spend, and they can get the right personnel in place to win. But it's got to go down. It's going to have to get really bad before it's better.
They're going to have to hit rock bottom. You're saying,
and I think because you have LeBron, it's almost this: you have to go win a championship. So they're accepting mediocrity. And how long are you going to do that? Yes, this draft class sucks, but next year's class is better. So if you're just a fringe playing team and you get the AC, you're not going to get a good draft pick. You done traded your future first for all that. So you miss out on getting maybe a Cooper Flag or a Dink Pate or, or a Trey Johnson or just those guys that can just, some guys that can actually help your program. So 26 is going to be better. 27 draft class. You talk about Baba. He'll be in the 28 draft class. You keep trading future first and keep hitting this mediocrity trail. That's just
That's where you're going to head.
Yeah. That's where you're going to head, and the rebuilding process ain't going to be no fun. It's already tough as it is. It's just not going to be fun. They need a big change. They need a big change from top to bottom. Until they figure that out, Lakers are continuing to suck.
Okay, that's kind of what I was asking, and it's the reason I'm saying is because they're a franchise that's like your guy who helped you build to this stage. Let Pat Riley take over the Showtime, brought in Kobe Bryant and Shaq. He dies, and it's like he was in a bad state with you. That's not a good look. Like if you're the, like they didn't really do anything for him. They didn't really say much for him. And like you said, Ani, who's really replaced him? Then you had Magic in there for a while. Then he stepped away, like just abruptly. And as much as I love Magic, he's not Jerry West, in terms of evaluating. He's not Jerry West. So he's a nice face of a franchise or of a city kind of, but like you said, that's kind of passing them by. Like I like to say, the 80s are a long time ago now. We're not, things have changed. So I understand what you're saying. I don't know if she's going to sell the team. Maybe not. Maybe in the future it would be, she's still got quite a bit of years left, but, to hopefully be a healthy and fine owner. But I don't know, Chelsea, maybe Ani's right. I can see that because the money's getting so big.
Yeah.
And you have this family oriented team, and it's like, and you don't have this, you're not moving on from what you previously had. At some point, like I mentioned, sometimes I said, sometimes when I watch the Lakers channel, I don't want to see Michael Cooper or James Worthy Magic all the time. That's past. That's we've had enough of that already.
Right.
I don't know if you guys feel that way, but I kind of do too. And I grew up in LA, so
Trey LeBron.
Okay. Well, there you guys go. I wanted to just get your take. And we talk about the media and we talk about the salaries. But I really think the NBA is just kind of a ho-hum finals for whatever reason. I don't want to say it's the two franchises. I think they're successful franchises. Obviously, Boston's successful. But I do think the NBA needs some changes, Chelsea and Ani. I just don't think people were that engaged in this coverage of the finals and leading up to it for whatever reason. We see them talk about more about the off the court issues and maybe even some people probably looking for the summer league and drafting things like that when there should be more focus on how great these guys are in this moment. So I don't know, Chelsea, if you have any thoughts about that. And we'll keep talking about that because we wanted to mention that as we transition, as we talk about the WNBA.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the way that coverage is these days, like it's not getting across to the fans. It's not relatable. I don't feel like they're putting as much effort into the things that they're doing to promote the players like they used to do. Like I just even think back to like commercials, like the Christmas game commercials and just like, the things that kind of just got people excited about certain matchups or certain players, like that's like absolutely like gone out the window. And it shouldn't, because there's been more money now than there's ever been. So they should be able to get behind something. They should be storytelling more. They should be, locking in on these players and where they've come from and what they're doing now. Like, but instead it's like, there's just nothing. Like this is just like, okay, the game's on ESPN at, 8 Eastern. There's no there's nothing to get the fans excited. And I don't even think it was a matchup because people are saying like, oh, this is boring or whatever. But Luka is Showtime, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, like exciting players were playing. It was just everything that came around these games just didn't draw anybody in. Like this is the most underwhelming in terms of finals that I've seen in a long time. And it had nothing to do with the performances. It was just because it's like, whatever. I don't know. What do you think, Ani?
I think the commentary, you have very knowledgeable basketball analysts. I feel that there wasn't, I guess I'm trying to gather my words here. Like JJ Redick, like when he's on, he know ball. Like, Dorsberg, she knows basketball. Like, I'm not going to argue that. There was just not enough charisma. There's not enough storytelling.
Okay.
Like Bob Costas did a really good job. That tweet goes up about like after the Bulls won the title and he was talking, whatever. But like that's him being a journalist. Like there's not enough journalists, right? Like you can write and you can talk basketball, but like really like being in the locker rooms and talking to these guys, getting intel so you're able to tell a story, right?
Yeah.
Not just give me a scouting report. That's fine. That's great. I love the basketball. Like y'all know, all of us, we about basketball all the damn time. I love that shit. I like it. But for a casual fan, like create a story, create it, like generate a narrative.
Sure.
There are narratives actually out there, and like it's not even getting picked out. Like I would wish like some of the people doing the color commentary would have interviewed Tatum and had some deep interviews with Tatum and talked about, you know, the struggles and finally getting to this point. And you're 3-1, you're playing at home and winning a championship. Like, yo, let's have like, bro, like that would have been something. Talk about Jaylen Brown and like him just like he, you know, Jaylen Brown one time talked about, man, I never won anything. Like it was a surprise when he won the Eastern Conference, I think MVP did. He said, I never won anything. Like, that's a story. You know what I mean? Like, you can use that and, like, you can use that to the game commentary and talking to Luka and his upbringing being in Serbia. And he's been, like, since he was 14 and Kyrie Irving. Like, bro, there's so many storylines.
Yeah, right? Stories there. You got to, like you said, you got to do some background. It's kind of like we just said about Jaylen Brown. He never won anything. Like I kind of mentioned at the top of the show, he's been overshadowed by Ben Simmons. Early in his career, obviously not overshadowed now, but like Jaylen Brown had that great game at the La Schwab. It was Wheeler versus Monteverdi. They beat him. And then like Ben Simmons was National Player of the Year, kind of got all the accolades, and like Jaylen kind of got a little overlooked. You know what I mean? Like you said, there's stories there. Peyton Pritchard has a good story. Drew Holiday, I mentioned, great stories. You know what I mean? So, like they're not telling them.
Yeah, they're not telling them.
All we seen is Stephen A. Smith walking into the building. It's like
enough of that too. Yeah,
so we kind of want to talk about that a little bit. I just think we have a scenario too where like the media has a big, the top people have a big platform, and they're kind of almost overshadowing some of the players. They're always, you know, their Twitter bites and their Twitter sound bites, and they're on Instagram and social media and a lot, and their little riffs or their little issues get kind of overshadowed by like the actual play. I've seen that a lot, and now it's carrying that over to the WNBA because now Stephen A. Smith and other people that kind of weren't really covering the WNBA a lot in the foul now have their 2 cents, and it's overshadowing the play, in my opinion, and on the boys' side and the women's side, on the men's and women's, not just
my thing. I'm just gonna go even with the W. Is like, okay, you talk about you have these two polarizing rookies and Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark.
Yeah,
I feel like why don't we do it? Why isn't there someone like if you look at Amar Rashad, like y'all know, y'all see me do my ISO on the interviews and stuff like that. I was influenced by Amar Rashad. Like I love like how he would interview Jordan and he would talk to LeBron and Kobe. Like, okay, you have these two people, you have like these two rookies right now.
Yeah.
Why doesn't anyone at least do a sit down with Angel Reese and really talk about like her? What she is? Like people understand her. Like you're the like protect your players. You know what I mean? Same thing with Caitlin Clark. Not just them, like even Asia Wilson. There's so many really good players. I feel like media, it's just people just doing a whole lot of talking and shit, right? They're not even really watching a lot of the basketball or even acknowledging who's good and who's not. But I also think like players are misunderstood. So if players are potentially misunderstood, then make the fans get to know them.
Yeah, correct.
But instead of letting people just you know, regurgitate some bullshit, like hey, control it. You know, let's interview it. Like we don't know much about Asia Wilson. The casual fan will not.
No.
But if the W or someone or just media peers, someone just sat down and really talked to her, had like a 30-minute interview with her, I think she would gain her so much more fans, right? That she deserves. She's averaging what? She could put up double-doubles. I'm saying 31 and 15 and shit. No one's talking about that. We're talking about this fucking flagrant foul on Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, correct.
You know what I'm saying? But like media, we're talking about the wrong things. And I think like this is about players, and we got really good players in the W performing. Let's let the fans get to know them beyond just the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once you do that, is again with the NBA and how this finals was born. No narratives or stories were generated. It was just they play basketball. We're gonna talk about some X's and O's stuff, which is good. Again, we all like that, and then that's it. It's boring. Like that's boring. I want to get to know Jaylen Brown, right?
Sure.
I want to get to know Tatum. I want to get to know Luka. I want to get to know Kyrie. I want to get to know Jrue Holiday. Like I want to get to know these WNBA players too. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be great to do, but instead we're worried about the wrong stuff because it develops clicks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
sensationalism.
we got to go away from that instead of just doing some immediate click hunting. We need to actually try to tell a story and try to control the narrative and protect the players instead of just letting people just say whatever the hell they want to say.
Mm. Good point,
Ronnie. That's well thought of and well pointed. Chelsea, do you have something to add to that?
I mean, no, I totally agree. And, I guess we'll transition to our next topic of the W, but, some of this stuff has just gotten totally out of control. And like Ani said, the W needs to try to control the narrative a little bit with some of the things that are being said and some of the things that are happening. But I think that they're just as responsible as some of the media that is, pushing these false narratives or these terrible things that they're saying about the players. Like, this is supposed to be a very exciting time for women's basketball, just with the eyes and the new fans and, people coming to the games. But these last couple of weeks have honestly just been terrible, like all around. Just the treatment of the players, from just how they're, coming at Angel or coming at Caitlin. Like it's truly disheartening and upsetting. And what upsets me the most about it, it has absolutely nothing to do with basketball.
Right.
Yeah. This is supposed to be, the most highlighted year of the W with this spectacular rookie class coming in, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark bringing all these fans and new eyes. And it's just been a total race war and total, shit show for lack of better words. Like, I don't even know how to explain it pretty much other than that. But I think there's a lot of things that could be done to just try to, kind of tip the scale a little bit. And Ani made a good point about just creating these narratives and showing the fans that who these people are as individuals and that they are people and that they are human. So maybe that people won't get on social media and just call them whatever they want to call them in the name of basketball or in the name of a certain player. Like it's pretty upsetting. But to just keep it basketball, like there's really great things happening in the W. Players playing spectacular. Ani mentioned Asia Wilson. She's leading the league in scoring 28 points per game. The emergence of players that, have maybe shown flashes of star power in the past, but now consistently in like Kalia Copper making her first Olympic team, killing it for the Phoenix Mercury. Brittany Griner back out there doing her thing, playing exceptionally well, kind of picking up where she left off before, that whole Russia incident. There's a lot of really good storylines. And I think the storylines should have a lot to do with the rookies because they're bringing the new fans. And I think people want to learn about these rookies and their process, but we don't talk about any of that. Like Ani said, we made no mention of talking about Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark and how they adjusted in training camp. What's been so difficult or different for them? What hasn't changed? What needs to change? What are they trying to work on? Like, we don't know any of that stuff. It's just a million eyes watching these games, ready to nitpick and critique every single thing that they do. And not fair to them, not fair to the players that are in this league, and not fair to a league that's trying to grow and blossom and hopefully one day become as formidable and profitable as the NBA. But it just kind of feels like, we're going in circles here with some of the things, and everybody keeps using the term growing the game, but I don't feel like this stuff is growing the game because this is not positive at all. It's not, like
it's not even about basketball. So how is it?
It's turning some fans off in the last few weeks.
Some of it doesn't have to be basketball, but the basketball players still it still needs to be basketball. I mean, again, like Connecticut Sun have only lost one game, right? Like New York Liberty's on the tear 12-2, and they lost the NBA Finals WNBA Finals last year. The Aces have been struggling. I know they were 6-6 at one point. I don't know what the record.
Yeah, they're missing Chelsea Gray. I think they're one game over 500 now, but
but like let's talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's talk about that. I think that's interesting. Like, the only people are getting known because if they make a comment about one of the two or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
He knows that.
And it's just like, damn, like I'm watching the game and I'm like, oh, yo, this is dope. Like she can play or blah, blah, blah. Like this is a good team. Or they on a roll right now. This team has a 3-game winning streak. I'm checking box scores and stuff and all that too. But we talking about something that's just kind of like silly. That I don't like for the W, why isn't basketball the main headline? Like, why is it the other shit? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's not the headline in the W be the other shit that's not even on the court, if that makes any sense. Like, and I think that, like Chelsea said, how is that really growing the game? If people want to see WNBA news, they're going to think it's about some other shit, like, or what's in the press conference. Like, let's make it more about the basketball. All right. Yeah. And if you want to get to know, if you want to know more about these people, then let's do some interviews, let's set something up and let the fans get to know these players.
100%. But I think too, though, just to continue your point, like there's a lot of people speaking on the W that don't know anything about the W.
Right.
And that does not mean that you can't speak on stuff. We all have a right to have an opinion or whatever. But some of these platforms, Stephen A. Smith, some of these NBA players coming out and say stuff like, if you have not taken any time to really understand the W, please do not speak on what's happening like it's the gospel, because you really have no idea. And that's where the league, I feel like, is struggling, because we have these people that have platforms, Ronnie, that have no idea. Yeah. Stephen A. Smith he touched on WNBA every now and then, uses his platform, whatever. But a lot of the stuff that he's talking about on the show is negative, and it has nothing to do with what's actually happening on the court. And, we've had so many people speak out of turn. And I'm not saying that people don't have a right to opinion. We all have an opinion. But please, you're getting on here and telling your 2 million gazillion followers something that's not true. And it's created all types of narratives, all types of hate and disgust for certain players or certain things. And it's just not fair, because there's a lot of girls who really just want to hoop. They have no problem with nobody else. They're just competing. Sometimes you get fouled hard, Ronnie. Sometimes your team loses. Sometimes you don't shoot well. Everything is not a thesis, or it needs to be dissected in a basketball game. And we don't do that to the men, but we do that to the women every single chance we get. And it just makes it hard.
Yeah, I see that. And I see that. Oh, you mentioned Stephen A. Smith, and there was a few people he had on his show, and he spilled, he said his spill, and you can tell Aguna K and Monica McNutt were just kind of holding their breath, or like, and they don't have the platform, maybe they don't have the backing or to say what they exactly want to say back to him. I don't know if that's true, or maybe that's just a woman's nature not to be as combative. You know what I mean? It could be a possible of many things there, but they've done some homework on the game, and Aguna played the game at a high level. So and then Stephen A. kind of doubles down and says, "Now you guys know who these people are because they came on my show." I just thought that was
a
cheap moment. It was like not. That's where you're losing. That's why people are going to tune out. So the casual fan, like some people in my family, are going to be like, you know what, Chelsea, I gave this a try. I'll come back to it later. I'm going to watch something else. This is fun. You're hurting. You're hurting in the last month or 3 weeks, or what you said. Because like we said, when we talked about South Carolina, we talked about the tournament, we talked about Iowa making the run. That was all positive.
That was all basketball.
Yeah, it was all basketball, correct. Yeah. So now we're having people feeling there's a certain type of way about it, whether it's race, gender, and I don't know where it's going to stop. I do know that I think there's some credibility, and you said to how you cover the game, Ani, you mentioned that, and then Chelsea, I think there's also some, as Ani said, that you can frame a certain story like, hey guys, please support us on the court. We're trying to turn the corner. Yes, we know we're not millionaires. We're not making millions of dollars for the league, but we're trying to get there. Talk about how great we're playing. Somebody's got to step up and say that at some point. I've been saying that for a long time on this pod, because if you keep talking about losing money, people are not going to take it serious. They're just not to the certain level. Some of that has to change. Okay, acknowledge it. Don't say, oh, guys, I guess some of the girls kind of sound like victims. No, you're not a victim. You're making $100,000 you're doing fine. Like, talk about it and say how you want to make more, and you're glad Kane's helping you make more. That's okay.
But in saying that, if you're going to talk about it, just make sure you know what you're talking about.
Correct.
Stephen A. Smith has said so many things that are factually incorrect about the WNBA. He's getting on his platform speaking like he knows what he's talking about. And I can give a million examples. And honestly, he really just does not know what he's talking about. It's just not true. The Olympic team, for example. The Olympic team and the WNBA are two separate entities. USA Basketball and the WNBA are two separate entities. Whatever criteria they have for their team has nothing to do with the WNBA. They're two separate things. The only thing that aligns those two groups is the fact that you have to be a WNBA player to make the Olympic national team. Other than that, they have their own committee, they have their own criteria, they have their own everything. So everything is not, a collective. Well, this should have happened this way because of this. Like, there's a process to everything. And you can still have an opinion and be okay with it. Hey, if you thought Caitlin Clark should have been on the team, awesome. But don't get on here and not know what you're talking about, Stephen A. Because you're supposed to be a journalist and a reporter, and you're not reporting the right things. And it's just not true. And I really think that that's what leads to the frustration of the W players. I'm not saying that they've done everything right in regards to some of the stuff that has happened, but they're not wrong about everything either. If LeBron gets on his podcast and says, oh, yeah, you better thank Caitlin Clark because this is the first time these girls have had charter flights for their entire lives. That's not true. They flew charter in the playoffs last year. 2 years ago, Mark Davis said, hey, guess what? I will fly my team charter. And the W shut it down because they said it's a competitive advantage for only one team to do that when the rest of the team didn't. So, and to Ani's point, there's stories out there. There's things that are happening out there and people don't know. They just listen to the little 30-second soundbite of Stephen A. and half of the stuff that he's saying is incorrect. And that's what makes it frustrating. I'm a fan of basketball. I'm a fan of Caitlin Clark. I'm a fan of Angel Reese because I really just like basketball and they can hoop. And I can be critical of them as players and I can enjoy both of them as players, even though they're supposed to be villains or enemies or whatever everybody's trying to make them be, because it's not, all this other stuff is not basketball. And that's the part that's disheartening to me. We have great players. Caitlin Clark is an exceptional player. She's going to be an amazing player in this league for a long time. She's going to have her chance at the Olympic team. She's going to be an all-star. The list goes on and on. Angel Reese is going to have similar opportunities. So why don't we just let the growth be organic? Why don't we let it be authentic and genuine and not a lot of BS? And that's basically what it's been for the last month. And it's hard to listen to any of this stuff, especially when the stuff's not accurate.
Yeah, people are tuning out. And that's what I'm scared of. That's why I feel bad because it was great momentum and we kind of lost it in these little online wars and social media, choose a side. And it don't make sense if you like basketball. Like, it's are they getting used? I don't think they're getting used to the extent some people think they are, but they are getting used, both girls, to push agendas. And I don't know how you change that offhand. But Chelsea, what one thing do you think you see that needs to be changed to get this right back in the right positive direction, and just from a financial standpoint to like help?
It just starts with leadership, though. Yeah. I don't understand really the direction of the league. I understand that it's trending in the right direction in terms of some of the things that have happened positively as of late with just this rookie class and, revenue and stuff like that. But it's not a serious league with the way that it's ran. And it's so sad to say that because, I want it to be. But just you can give a list of just things that have happened that just don't make any sense. Like, are they getting charter flights? Kathy announced that everybody's getting charter flights. Next thing you know, only Indiana's flying. Then they say, this arena is sold out or it's not sold out. Like, it's just not serious. Right. Like that's the thing that sucks because there's such a good product that if it really was about basketball and leaning into these women, then it could really be something. And I honestly don't know what to do to change it because now it's just going so far the other direction in terms of just building off the momentum that you said coming from the NCAA tournament that it's hard. Like I wish I had the answers. The only, answer I can give right now is I just want the right information to get out there. Whether you're a fan of whoever, whatever, the WNBA has been trending upwards in terms of just revenue and doing well the last several years. And this is the time to capitalize on that. But instead, we're talking about losing money and this is why, and this girl sucks. And, Like
we should be thankful. All the other girls should be thankful for
like
Caitlin
what?
Clark. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's kind of off base and not factually all true, and doesn't paint a good picture. You're painting one girl against the rest of the 143 or whatever it is, 140. It's I don't know, Ani. What do you have to add there, and what do you think should be done?
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, just you got to again, just create positive narratives, have a control of it. I mean, if you whoever's in leadership, you have control over what can really be put out and what narratives or what culture you want to even put you want to establish in your league. So
yeah,
I mean, if they like this and they're going to keep this up. If they don't, then they'll change it. I'm all about storytelling. Like, I got a journalism degree. I love this. Like, I'm about it. So I just think if you want more positivity, if you want more stuff to be talked about on the court, then you do what you have to do in order to establish that. If you don't care about those things and you like all this messy drama, bull BS, then you're going to allow this to happen. You're going to keep I guess my solution is whatever you're trying to establish, put your foot down and try to establish it. And if this is what you're trying to establish, how media is covering it right now, then they're doing a hell of a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're doing a hell of a job. You just created a race war. Like, you know what I'm saying? But if you don't want it to be that, like, you have enough resources to not do that. Just be smart. Let's go back. Let's actually have some real journalism, bro. Like, let's get into some real journalism.
I think that's what's missing a bit too. But Ani, is that disappearing? Because again, the guys my age and older, we're kind of from the old school, kind of have newspapers, and we're kind of from the Dan Rather, Connie Chung, Barbara Walters. Those were good interviews with a lot of these good athletes.
Yeah.
Great interviews. Like if you look over the years, like you said, Ahmad Rashad was pretty good. Obviously, he was pretty close to Jordan, but like NBA inside stuff was a great tool for the NBA to learn about Barkley and Kareem and the Dream and Dan Marley, whoever else. The WNBA doesn't have that. It's just they let social media go wild with whatever they want. And Ani, is that just going to go away now that this younger journalism is not like that? They just didn't come from that schooling. Most journalism people who have that major now in the last 5 to 10 years, they've never read it. They're not reading newspapers. They're getting it from social media. So I'm afraid it might be gone, Ani.
And everyone has a podcast, and everyone just talks.
Oh my God!
Everyone just talks, and
so everybody just talks.
Just one of those things. Like it doesn't even have to be newspaper. It's just like there's just so much you can do to create a positive image.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, the W has a lot of good things. Like you can get that out there, and you can be creative in how you put that out there and how you want to have that story put out. If you just don't care, like maybe to your point, like maybe they're just you got some young people that just, I know, and the people are like, well, the audience don't have as much of attention span, so you got to be quick. You got to
be quick, yeah.
But even with that, you still can be creative. Like there's still some really good commercial ideas that you can have, and just videos and stuff. I mean, there's so much you can do to create a positive picture.
Correct.
If you want to do it, the leadership will do it. If they don't want to do it, then they just keep this going.
Let me ask you guys a question. Either one you can answer. And we've never mentioned this woman's name on our podcast. Taylor Rooks. Mm-hmm. She made a good point. She said that she's seen a lot of young people trying to get in the business, but they're more interested in being famous than covering the sport. Well, so one, do you agree with that? And then two, on the flip side, we mentioned Barbara Walters. We mentioned Nightline 2020, 60 Minutes. Well, she does some good interviews, but then on socially, she's the player's friend. So then I don't take the interview as seriously no more. So where do you guys stand with that? Because I think she made a great point. Too many people are just trying to be famous more than doing their job.
Well, I think actually, like when you're in that field, actually doing your job is actually really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like to be a journalist or to be an interviewer, like that day-to-day grind is actually really, really hard. Like
you get a good
people we're talking about are special. You know what I'm saying? Like those people, that people just see what's on TV, but people don't see the stuff before, like the preparation before, and just the really like all that stuff's a beast. I think so for people, it's like, look, for some people coming up, it's like, hey, look, like I can just put out some crazy, videos, some TikToks, and I can blow up. I can have a podcast where I say some wild things, and I can skip the line, basically. You see what I'm saying? Like when I was in school, it was like, hey, you want to be a journalist, you're going to work for a little money. You got to grind and put out like not 10 articles a week and make sure. Like that's how I was taught, right? So. Now it's like, hey, look, man, I could just have one big time interview or one big time crazy, video or whatever. And now
it goes viral or something.
Now it goes viral. Now, I done skipped the line. I ain't got to work for barely nothing. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and which is a good thing. Like, I think some of that, it's not all bad. Like, I think it can help people skip the line and we can identify talent quicker. But I do think it just people are like, oh, I don't have to do all that work. I can just go be famous.
Got it.
Because the grind is hard. That is not easy. Like those people day to day is a beast.
No doubt. Chelsea, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I also think like in Taylor's situation, like I think she does an exceptional job. I think she's able to get the interviews that she gets because of the relationships that she has.
Right.
And people are going to do interviews with people that they feel comfortable with, which we just know that to be true. If, Skip Bayless wants to interview LeBron, he's probably going to say, hell no, all you do is trash talk. But, you're going to do those interviews with people that you feel comfortable with. So I think, credit to her. I think she does an amazing job. I think she's definitely right about just people enjoy the lifestyle. And I think that's just in everything. Like we just talked about it in basketball. Like, are you guys here really to hoop? Or are you here to just be rich and, famous and all that comes with it? So this is just the times that we're in, honestly. And real journalism, Ani, I'm going to hire you to cover the Dallas Wings of the WNBA because they need some help. They need people to get in there and to cover these stories. And it's just hard. Like people are just looking for clickbait and not looking for, I guess, the best content because maybe it's not what sells the most or what people want to hear about. But if you want your league to be about something, like Ani said, then you have to shape the way that the league is. And if you allow people to just say whatever and do whatever, then it's going to continue to be treated that way. So, this is the times that we're in. I really don't have all the answers when it comes to this stuff, but I feel like it's disheartening because I really am a fan of the W. And I know these women. I played against these women. I played it small time in the WNBA. So, I have a different perspective. And, there's a lot of good things that are not being talked about, to Ani's point. Like, I just want the league to be covered in its entirety. And I understand how journalism and media and stuff works. I'm not saying that we should not highlight the rookies. They're exceptional. But you're highlighting them, well, both of them on losing teams in spite of some of the other really good things that are going on in the league. Like, hey, maybe we should have a rookie watch where we do talk about there always should be a segment about the rookies because people want to know about the rookies. But what about what's happening in the league? Because guess what? In 2 months, both rookies are going to be out when they don't make the playoffs. Actually, all the rookies, the Sparks, the Thieves, Chicago, none of them are making the playoffs. Are you guys not going to be able to have a show now because there's no, flagrant fouls on Caitlin Clark or no Angel Reese? What are you guys going to talk about? Because you haven't even set the stage for what's really happening in the league. The Connecticut Sun, the New York Liberty, the Ace is struggling, but about to get Chelsea Gray back. What are we talking about? Like,
that's a good point. When they are out of the playoffs.
What
I don't even know to your point, I don't even know if the Fever, how many games they're back and they're
right now they're both teetering like 8-9.
Yeah,
there's a lot of games left, and maybe I could be wrong, and they both make their playoffs. But the way that it's looking right now, their teams are both really bad, which is expected when you're top picks and you go to bad teams. So I'm saying, but nobody knows about the teams that are doing really good because we don't talk about them. We just talk about fouls and who said what, and somebody's girlfriend did this. Like, what?
Yeah,
what are we talking about?
Yeah, it's not as of serious nature. So. Yeah, that's some great input, and hopefully people keep supporting. I know we support it on this pod. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, some of these topics we kind of mentioned leading up all to this, whether it's Celtics getting over the hump, getting their championship. We predicted that the two rookies would probably be pretty good. I think even Angel Reese maybe surprised us with her statistical output, but she's doing good. And we knew Kane Clark would do good statistically because she'd get the opportunity.
Yeah.
So all that is good stuff to talk about. And let's now talk about what's upcoming and where we've been. Like I said, we've been away, and we appreciate everybody tuning in and telling people about our pod and keep continuing to support us, even though we're not doing it as frequently as we'd like sometimes. But we're going to be talking about these players that are coming up. Again, we know a lot about these players because we followed them when they're young. So, Ani, just talk about where you've been, and then real quickly in the next few minutes, where we're going here in the next couple weeks.
I was in Pangos All-American Camp in Vegas. I was actually just came back from Miami. I was on balling on the beach. Some really good middle school ball. Man, I've been a lot of places. Actually, I'll tell you how many states and cities I've been in the past couple months. Georgia, Indiana, Oklahoma, Louisiana, obviously Texas, California, Nevada, Nebraska, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Kansas. That is 13 states since 224. So I've been a lot of places, but recently I've been to Vegas for Pangos, been to Miami. I was in Fort Lauderdale. I just came back for that. That was really good. Got to see the future, just 28s and 29s. Adidas stops. Got to see y'all in May at Indy, for Nike. I'll see y'all again in Augusta. So yeah, I mean, man, I've been traveling so much. Like people, I'm like worn out from traveling.
Yeah, we got Scholastic still. This month is heavy because, like you said, I went to NBA Players Association at Wide World of Sports. Quick question, Ani, at Pangos, did you see Eric Reeby do well? Because he was really good at NBA, but he didn't really make the All-Star games at Pangos.
He was just solid. I think he was just kind of in the mix. Probably would have been a top 60 performer.
Yeah.
He was just kind of in the mix. Maybe it's the team that he was on. Maybe he wasn't able to have a large volume of shots or be able to show his versatility. But I saw NBPA, he was really, really good. I mean, he was an all-star game candidate, like a top 60 kid.
Sure.
In my opinion, but he didn't pop like he did in Orlando.
Yeah, correct. I would agree to that. Go check out. I did some rankings on hoopscooponline.com. I did the rankings for Pangos there. We did a lot of content there. So Chris Senac ended up being the MVP. He's now going to go to Link. He was at Isidore Newman of New Orleans. Big man, 225. Definitely a big man camp. The NBA players, a lot of great big men did well. Obviously, we just mentioned Eric Reeby from the Bullis School in Washington. Who's made a jump, Ani, as we head into Scholastic? Who do you think's made a jump that you've seen from either the 225 or 226?
Well, you talk about Chris Senac. I mean, he's made probably the biggest jump. I mean, he goes from a kid that's probably was a top 50 kid going into the spring, and now he's a top 10 player in the country. I mean, he's probably made the biggest leap. 6'10", athletic, fluid, versatile, can put the ball on the floor, can make shots, can finish around the rim. He has a pro-ish type game. I mean, the stuff translates. I mean, obviously he still has ways to go, but you talk about someone that you think he may get into he joined the Pro 16s, that Puma circuit. So that's hard, for a league that hasn't had a Mickey D's kid. You go from in the 50s, all of a sudden you're a no-brainer top 5, top 10 player. I mean, he's made the biggest jump. I would definitely say by far. Outside of that, in Texas, we have in 225, we haven't had anybody just jump too crazy. Sebastian Williams-Adams has made a pretty big jump. Oh, no, I lied. Sebastian Williams-Adams has actually been really good.
Yes.
He's kind of in that border. I think Shelton Henderson, who made that U18s, did he? That won in and beat Argentina at the end. he's been really good for that JL3 group. So I was saying Texas, we've had those two guys really like produce heavy and kind of putting themselves in the conversation. I would say, like, if you ask me February how many Burger Boys we have in Texas, I say I think we could have one. Mm-hmm. Now I think we could potentially have, and Kingston Flemings, who's been fantastic, and I have a couple of people that text me, Paul and Cardi text me saying he's been looking great at USAB. You're talking about potentially Texas now. We can have 3. I don't think we have 4, but I feel strong about 2 or 3 guys that actually make the burger game. So those guys have made jumps from kind of being like outside looking in, like heavily outside looking in, to now like, hey, they got a foot in the door. And some may actually have 2 feet in the door. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that Sebastian Williams-Adams from St. John, Houston, I mean, I saw him up close because he was on the team that I was assigned to down at the NBA Players Association. The team won the team championship, so he did a great job. He didn't take a bad shot all week. He was rebounding, offensive glass, working. Very good job. Team first guy. We had a lot of team first guys on that team, which included Braden Burries from California, guard, Malachi Moreno, the big man from Kentucky, Caden Lewis, who did a great job from Sidwell Friends in Washington, D.C., really crafty guard, did a good job. So, yeah, we're going to go up here to Scholastic, and then Chelsea, I believe you're going to be at the Nike 100 for the younger 227 guys, and maybe mostly 227, correct?
Yeah, so Elite 100 is going to be in St. Louis next week, June 23rd through the 27th. We have about 20 freshmen coming, 80 sophomores, so underclassmen event. It's going to be really good. A lot of kids basically just from our circuit that were, shining bright in our first 4 sessions leading up to Peach Jam. Got the special invitation. So I'm looking forward to it. It's my first one, and we're really excited about it. So it should be good.
Yeah, we got to see a lot of the younger guys. I got to focus on them in Atlanta, not so much in Indiana. I was watching the older guys, but this narrative that American basketball has some really good young guys.
Yes.
Some good guys coming.
Very talented guys.
Yeah, they're coming. So don't everybody's always a lot of and joking. Those are a lot of outliers. There's a lot of good players here in the States, and we'll be following them as June goes on. Like you guys are gonna be down at Peach Jam after Scholastic. I'll be at Section 7, which is big, has multi-state teams, and then California Live is the following week, which would be the 26th through the 28th. And then I think a few days after that's when the teams start gearing up to go to Peach Jam, which is a long 9-day trek. For them, I believe it's about 9 days, and then the summer will kind of be that evaluation will kind of be done. We'll have the NCAA academies on it, and later in that month, and that's going to take us to like next thing you know, it'll be a month from now, July 20th. So
right.
It's a grind, but we've seen a lot of good players. We'll keep talking about them, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. I think we're going to kind of wrap up now. We'll talk next time we come on. We'll kind of focus on the grassroots in high school, some of the stuff we've seen. And like we said, like we're talking about doing a good job. One of the reasons why we don't have a lot of guests right now is because, like to you guys' point, we don't want them with bad service or they're not prepared. Like we want to be prepared. We want to have good interviews and kind of to Ani's point, not just junk thrown together. So sometimes when we have good ones, and they're meaningful. We don't want just people on whenever we're in their car. If we can avoid it, we want them to do well. So we appreciate like Jalen Mondani coming. I know he's trying to get on that USA team. He was at NBA and we've had a lot of great guests. So we appreciate all the guests. But for now, for Chelsea Hopkins and Umana, we're going to get out of here on episode 188, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye, guys.